Welcome to this first annual broadcast of the Pantheon Developer Showcase. Made that up on the fly. I'm not sure if it's actually going to be titled that. Point being, though, we have the Pantheon developers with us now. We will have Vu's desktop shown here very shortly if it's not up there already.
It's there.
This is, it is. This is the Rob and Dan Show twitch.tv page. Thank you so much for joining us, guys. This is really exciting. This is actually the first time we've talked to Ben here in a while. It's been since 2010. Joining us, though, tonight is Benjamin de la Durante, the PR manager. I almost got it right. Vu Nguyen, the senior artist, and Salim Grant, the director of development for the Pantheon Rise of the Fallen project. Guys, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
You're welcome for having us.
And I think Salim's actually getting more joy out of
I think
the last name thing.
Yeah, both of our names, but that's fine.
Ouch.
How do you say your last name, Dan, by the way?
Han!
There we go. Love it.
Hello? Dan's still here?
I think he lost connection.
Oh no.
Well,
that's odd. Well, everyone, introductions. Ben first.
yeah. So I, as Dan mentioned, I do the PR. I'm the PR manager for Visionary Realms and for Pantheon Rise of the Fallen. Seeing more people coming into the channel now, so it's really great to have you all there. We want to get to your questions at some point in the show, but we wanted to take the opportunity tonight to show you what you really want to see, which is Vu's magic on work on Pantheon Rise of the Fallen. And with me, Salim Grant, who's our director of development, as Dan also mentioned. He's here to talk a little bit about the game and again to answer some of your questions.
I think we lost. Did we lose Salim too, or no? Nope.
No, I'm here.
Okay.
No, I just talk over him so you don't notice that he's here.
Yeah.
I tend to do that. I apologize. So Vu, tell us what you're working on here.
I'm just working on some of the terrain outside of a little dungeon I'm starting to create here.
Now, as some of you may have noticed from the Kickstarter page, earlier we had posted some of the work that Vu's been working on for the Sunken Sanctum, which is, I believe, is what the dungeon is here, just the area outside of Sunken Sanctum anyway. Vu's using the Unity engine. We've talked a little bit about that in some of our updates and in some of the interviews as well. Unity tends to be a pretty powerful engine. Would you agree, Vu? You've got lots of experience. You did a lot of stuff on EverQuest and a bunch of games. How does
I worked with. Actually, it's pretty good. I'm just getting used to it. This is only about my third week using it, so it seems pretty powerful. I'm just starting to get used to the prefabs and just learning structurally how it works, how to just implement all your modular pieces and then get the terrain.
I just got a report from Dan. The entire city just lost cable access.
Wow.
Wow.
So it's the Rob show tonight.
Yep. The Rob and Ben show.
He's gonna do this.
And Salim and Vu.
Yeah, it's actually too bad because Dan and I, like he said, Dan and I had done some stuff in several years back. So I was talking to him tonight. Oh well, on with the show, I guess.
Doesn't do it. Show must go on.
Now, you're saying you're using Unity. There was a game that I was playing last night, Kerbal Space Program, that also uses Unity. One of their recent updates, they used the latest version of Unity that gave many speed improvements. Are you keeping up with the latest versions of Unity as well?
I got what my programmer sent me.
Yeah, he should have the latest version for sure.
Okay.
Our lead programmer is on top of that stuff. He gets mad at me if I am even, just like a point behind mistakenly.
So with this process, really, what happens is our lead artist James Rochelle, basically comes up with an idea. He obviously works with the lore team and the entire design team, and an idea starts brewing, and then Tony Garcia will put together some lore, and then James will work on that a little bit, and then he'll send all of that stuff over to Vu. So that's kind of what's happened here with the Sunken Sanctum.
And we were discussing before we went live, say that 5 times fast.
Yes. Yeah. Sunken Sanctum. I can't say it 1 time fast. So, Vu, you've built a little island out there too, from my understanding. Yeah. Our community will probably recognize that area too. We did a couple screenshots, early screenshots, just to kind of show a little bit of the work that's being done. We did kind of a dusk shot and a full daylight shot, so we've got a little building going on there. It's turning into a little village, from my understanding.
Yeah, the Unity thing is you could buy assets, and right now it's good to just be able to purchase some assets and just have them as placeholder until we get some more finalized art in there. But it's good just to get a feel of the way the engine works in.
Mm. Yeah, so what do you, when we get down into the nitty gritty of designing like the buildings and stuff, what's kind of the process behind that?
I would like to have just placeholder everything and finalize about 85% and just let design get in there and do what they need to do. And once we get designed layout and input on the zone and the art, then we go in there and finish things. I kind of want to make sure that everything is kind of set in stone before we go in there and really polish things up.
I'm going to see if we can get Dan on the Zoom app for iPhone.
Oh.
If his 3G is working okay over there, he should at least be able to get in via audio.
The unconventional means of doing live streaming on Twitch.
Yep, tin can and a string.
Technology is wonderful.
Technology is fantastic.
Wait a minute.
So
we got him back.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that.
The entire city lost DNS access for about 30 seconds.
Oh, it was DNS.
Great opening.
We thought you were going to be coming back in through dial-up or something. That technology is still around.
I was actually, per Rob's suggestion, trying to download the Zoom app for my phone as it came back up. And I'm just so glad I didn't have to go that direction, because I don't think I could see the video right now if I did.
Okay, so this is kind of cool what we're seeing on screen now, Vu. What's going on here?
I'm actually in Unity, and I put together a lot of these just pieces.
Okay.
And then with these pieces, I was able to just kind of, you could drag them into here. Actually, that's a whole large piece, but you can make some small little pieces and then drag them back into Unity to make, or back into this little channel right here, and it will create prefabs for you. That way you could update just one piece and it updates everything. So it's pretty efficient. It's pretty nice little system that we got here.
I gotta ask, I might have missed something when I lost connection there. Are these prefabs stuff that you guys have made previously, different art assets you put together, or is this something that Unity has available?
Well, I put together a lot of the geometry for these dungeon pieces, and I grabbed some of the textures out of Unity, and I used some of mine. I haven't had a chance to make some good textures right now.
A lot of it's basically temporary textures.
Yeah, most likely.
How much of what you're putting together is just skeletal structure, temporary art pieces or temporary fixtures? How much you have to go back and fill in as you go through the development process multiple times?
Well, the nice thing with this is once we get it laid down, we could go in there and just update the prefabs, individual art assets, and they should just replace themselves. And then we could just go in there and decorate it with props or just little snap-ons on the wall and break things up with different little pieces of geometry.
Okay, so you could simply say replace all instances of like this gate here that's on the screen. Replace all instances of that gate with this other fab part, and it'll just pop them all in place.
Yeah.
Okay.
Salim, being the director of development, I'm assuming you've seen a lot of the ups and downs when it comes to the difficulties and the successes of trying to make this game happen piece by piece. What have some of the harder parts been when it comes to actually putting the physical game together like we see in front of us?
Really, it's just the hardest and funny enough, the funnest part is getting the initial design in and kind of getting an idea, a solid idea, ready to go before it can go into the game world. You know, just coming up with a dungeon concept and figuring out game flow and things like that need to be worked out before you actually have an artist stub it out. So that can be difficult, but like I said, it's also a lot of fun. Collaborative environment, people talking to each other and coming up with crazy ideas and trying to cram them all in. That can cause problems, but it's all part of the process.
As we continue to watch here, how big is your team? Tell us more about the team you have working on Pantheon.
Right now we have, I think 11 people. I'm not sure. And we have Tony, who's our lore guy. He's got a lot of experience. He's one of the main lore guys in EQ2 and Defiance. We have our lead programmer. His name is Jason Wyman. He has a chunk of experience in Vanguard and some other games that he did after he left Sony, EQ2 as well. And then we have another guy named Lenny. He did work with me on Vanguard. Actually started in the industry with Vanguard, then did a lot of work on PlanetSide 2. And Noel Walling is another EQ2 vet who also worked at Defiance. We have another Vanguard designer named Corey Lefevre. All really solid guys, a lot of experience in the design team as a whole. And our programmer is, a student of Unity, it seems like half the time. So it's pretty awesome for us because, we were, just an example, we came up with this cool rogue design the other day, and you think about something in your head, you start thinking back when you're playing D&D and all those things that you actually want to try to translate into game. And come up with this rogue design, and he's listening. He's like, hey, I can just prototype that real quick. And within about 10 minutes, he's like, oh, come on, log on and check it out. It's really basic, really rough, and log on. I'm like, wow, like you actually made this real, and I can now kind of jump from there and see what more we can do with it. So he's a huge asset to us.
Salim, if you could actually go into the audio settings for Zoom and turn off the auto mic adjustment, it's been bringing your volume up and down quite a bit.
Audio.
Salim loves hearing about audio adjustments.
Oh God!
After every interview, I'm like, dude, can you change something on your mic? It's like, damn it.
Where is it? Oh, there it is. Hello.
Yep, that should work.
Sweet. Don't ask me to repeat what I just said, though.
we got it. We got the gist of what's going on here. Now,
Let's say it 5 times fast.
No.
that would be a challenge. What is Vu, what are you actually working on right now? Is this a dungeon or some kind of cityscape?
It's a dungeon with the outdoor exterior.
Vu's not. He doesn't talk much when he's focused.
That's understandable. It's very intricate work. Not just doing the modeling and putting the different pieces together, but then trying to cram all those pieces into an actual project and make them all work together. It's not easy.
Yeah. Vu is an amazing artist.
A couple people in chat are asking about the time frame for development, not just with the Kickstarter, but with when different levels are going to be accessible. Do you guys have any information that you can reveal on that?
Nothing concrete, but Brad and I are in the same mindset when it comes to the importance of alpha and beta having a nice long period to stew. So we're hoping that that we can get a decently long beta, at least 6, maybe even 8 months. You never know how long our alpha period would be. Not sure right now, but we definitely want to invest a lot of time into that because it's really important that we get feedback and get time to make adjustments based on that feedback, so that our final product, what we present, is as high quality as possible.
Mm-hmm. Vu, I can see there's a lot of different things going on in the landscape you're using right now. Is there an overall plan for how this is going to look, or are you more just coming up with things as they move and trying to polish and refine?
I'm just kind of coming up with things right now and just seeing what looks good and polish and refine right now until we kind of get a design of idea of what really we want to have in this dungeon. I like to have rooms kind of themed, so I wanted to just kind of have something going on in there besides just being a room.
Mm-hmm.
Along those lines, Vu, can you tell us a little bit about what some of your past on some of the dungeons that you've worked on before, just to let the viewers know what you've done?
I worked on the original EverQuest, and I did a lot of some of the starting cities there, and then I guess I did Unrest and Sebalist, which are a lot of people's favorite. I played a lot in Unrest. I never got high enough to play in Sebalist, so I didn't really get a chance.
Yeah, that is a beloved zone by many EverQuesters. The fact that the guy that designed it didn't get a chance to really play it, that's sad. It's very sad.
I know, but I played a lot of Unrest and some of the other zones, but I did that night did some zones in Velius too, and then along the lines of Lucklin and then Plains of Power. I guess there was a list going out on the web somewhere of the zones I did. I don't want to kind of name them off all right now, but I worked on EverQuest 2, the original, and then did some of the zones on their Orcish Waste, Lava Storm, helped finish the Eye of Solius Row. Then Sinking Sands and some of the other expansions like Faded War, I think Butcher Block Mountain and Steam Font. And then I did some help on DC Universe. That was the next project I went on next, and we kind of did a virtual team there. So we kind of just worked from San Diego and communicated with the team in Austin for about 1.5 years. And after that, I went on the Planet side and worked on the Planet side for 1.5 years. So I kind of got away from doing fantasy stuff for a while. So it's kind of good to be back, because fantasy stuff is kind of what I kind of grew up with and what I kind of know. It's kind of nice to be able to create whole landscapes and scenes instead of just small little objects and items.
I know you probably answered this in a Q&A or something, but just a really quick hit on it. Do you have a history with Brad McQuaid at all?
He was he gave me my first job, actually. Yeah. I mean, besides that, and then I kind of I stayed at SOE for the whole time, and I didn't go over there to see Joe. So I was kind of far from that whole fiasco over there. I was working on EQ2. So I worked with him on the original EverQuest. I was pretty much still in college when he gave me a job.
It's not a bad way to start off a career.
No. So hopefully I've been actually back in school studying business too. So some business management. So hopefully a little bit of management will help with some getting these worlds done on time and running efficiently.
A question now for Salim and Ben. What are your guys' histories with Brad and with the team that developed the original EverQuest? Do you guys go back a bit of a ways, or is this more of a recent business collaboration for you guys?
I worked at Sony originally before I went to Sigil, starting in 2000. And I became a developer with Star Wars Galaxies, and then went to EverQuest after that launched. So I started working at EverQuest, Eldon, Gates of Discord time period. And then Brad and Jeff Butler brought me over to Sigil man, what year was that? 2004, I think. So yeah, I mean, from there, relationship, kind of grew. Obviously, you put a game like Vanguard together and go through what we went through. You get close to some people, and some people you don't. And then after that, I went and managed Vanguard after I went back to SOE, and then left Vanguard and went back to Vanguard. And when Brad came back to SOE, he became a designer on Vanguard under me. So our relationship continued. We'd also play Magic every Friday night for a little bit. Me, him, and Jason, our lead programmer, and Lenny, one of our other designers. So it's been a relationship that's spanned good 7-8 years or so. Yeah, that's how I'm connected to him. Benjamin.
Ben?
Oh, I'm a neophyte. I mean, I'm a total noob. No, I've never seen an MMO before. No, I'm just kidding.
MMO, what's that?
Morpica?
No, I back, I guess it was around 2006, 2007. I started. I'd been playing MMOs for a while, and I had seen a post on a message board somewhere that was saying that 10 Ton Hammer actually needed somebody to work on their content creation for Vanguard. So anyway, I got hooked up with them for a little while. Great people over there. I had an awesome experience. Got to know a lot of developers and whatnot through my 6 years there. And I hadn't actually really connected with Brad on a one-to-one basis, because as I was coming in, he was just kind of going on his hiatus after the Vanguard. So after that, when I saw that he was working on this project, I sent him a quick note, and I'm like, I gotta be a part of this. And so we talked a little bit, and yeah, so now I'm doing the PR here.
Wait, how did that go again? What did you say?
I told Brad that I was somebody else. I made up a resume, and he believed me. So as far as he knows,
we'll just make up some shit on this resume right now. We'll just write in some things.
That's how you get into the industry, folks. Top tips right there. No, but we had a good chat. Yeah, it worked out well. I got a chance to meet the team, and we started getting to work on this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and despite my my issues, they still let him on.
Yeah, Salim's still trying to get me fired.
Everyone has their goals. Folks, if you're enjoying what you're seeing, please go right below the video. Right below the video, there is a link to the Pantheon Rise of the Fallen Kickstarter page. If you haven't contributed already to that, please consider contributing. They are a little bit away from their goals still, but there's plenty of time. But please consider giving a little bit of your hard-earned money to the project. It's well worth it. There are a ton of benefits. There's actually, if you scroll a bit down the Kickstarter page too, there is an entire chart of different benefits and things you can get, including things like the ability to name items in the game. You get if you buy some of the higher tiers, you actually have the chance to design an item of your own. You also, at some of the higher tiers, get a chance to name a...
Uh-oh. Hope we didn't lose Dan again.
Oh, man.
Actually, that's suspense, folks. You get to name a... We'll tell you later.
You can even get a phone call from Brad.
Yeah.
Point of interest.
That one...
Line or boss. Always something powerful.
Oh, wow.
Wow, he came back, kind of, briefly.
It's like a time lapse.
Darn it, Iowa.
Yeah.
Am I still here?
Oh,
Yes.
There you go.
Oh, God. Whew. Oh, boy. We're okay. Everything's fine.
Yeah, I think we're good.
Run away, the internet has
tell
him.
us. How are you feeling?
Oh, no.
No, we've lost him again. We have lost him again. That's hilarious. But anyway, so the $900, it's $900, right, Salim?
Yeah.
So that one was up for debate for a little while. It's like, well, maybe we should give, let these people be a real part of this and have Brad give them a call. And Celine came up with some great ideas. He's like, why don't we have like a Brad phone, directly on his nightstand?
Don't tell them about the Brad phone. They're gonna all want the Brad phone. Stop. He agreed to the Brad phone, by the way. So
He did agree to the Brad phone. I don't. He's awesome.
Now, is the Brad phone almost like the red phone that they had on Batman, the TV series?
Yeah.
Or is it inside of a bust of Lord British?
We're basically saying that we'd have like a special line put in his office, and during a certain time every day, depending on how much money you gave, you could call him and talk to him directly, for a little bit. Of course, that would have to be a very high tier because, well, you couldn't have everyone calling him. He'd never get to do anything else.
Dial
$20 entry.
Dial 1-900-GAME dev. $1.99 a minute.
Maybe that's what we should do post Kickstarter. Just make a 900 number or something. Well,
Whoa.
No, not in that way. No, I mean, just make it, a pay per use call.
It'd be
wow, I gotta watch what I say, man.
Dev's gone wild.
Dev's gone wild.
Videos. Yeah.
Now, what about the Developers Guild? Where did that idea come from? And is it going to be a serious thing, or is it just going to be a place where the devs talk a little bit and sometimes hang out, that kind of thing?
I mean, I guess it depends on. I mean, it would be serious. We would take it serious. Everyone being there should be playing together. But if Vu wants to leave and go group up with his buddies somewhere else to play the game, then he wouldn't be in it as much. Obviously, we're not going to make it a requirement that people play only in the dev guild.
You're not going to chain the devs to it.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I would expect it to be serious because I mean that's a good way for us to interact with each other and the players. If we can experience a game together, we can all kind of talk about what might be a problem here or what worked really well, and actually do it with the players and get their reactions and stuff. Work together towards bigger goals. So I would like it to be serious.
Another really good opportunity that players have, if they're willing to donate a little bit extra, is the $1 a year subscription option. That I believe the minimum donation for that is $250 to $300. But at that point in time, at least I assume, they would only have to pay $1 a year for the rest of the game's history.
Yes. It's effectively a lifetime subscription.
Oh, well, I guess we can say that here. The reason why we did it $1 a year is because we're not allowed to do lifetime subscriptions on Kickstarter.
Really?
Yeah, which was news to us, but hey,
okay, I'm curious now. Why can't you do lifetime subscriptions?
No idea.
I have to ask them. I don't know.
Huh. Rob, have you heard? Rob is between the two of us, the Kickstarter expert. He's backed quite a few projects.
I wouldn't
Rob, do you know
say
anything about
expert, but no, I have not heard anything about that. I know they've been changing up their policies, but I didn't hear anything recently.
That is a rule. I mean, that is a very specific rule.
That's crazy. Well,
stuff.
$1 a year is still pretty close to free.
Yes. It's $1 away from free.
Now, what about the design and item? What are the limitations and restrictions on that? Obviously, being able to design your own item is, again, dream come true for so many MMO players. What are the restrictions and what are the limitations on being able to do that?
The restrictions are, I mean, stated in the thing that it's dev team approval. I mean, we're not going to, you can't come in and say, I want to make a BFG or anything like that. Not even the latest version. If it doesn't fit in our game, if it doesn't fit in our lore, then that would probably be the main stipulation that would make people stop. I mean, if it's named, if you want some weird name, we'd have to put the kibosh on that. So, I mean, really, it's whatever you can come up with that fits within the theme of the game. That's it. We'll let you put it in.
Looking back over to the screen here and checking out exactly what's going on, we see some more intricacies being put in. You see the basic torch implements. You can see a barrel right now being placed. What has to happen after this basis is set down? This base is set down. What's the next step in developing this dungeon?
Well, once he has it all stubbed out, we'd probably just throw NPCs in there, populate it, and run through it, make sure things path right, things like that. And like we said earlier, after that's done, after design is satisfied, he would go in and kind of finalize more things. But it's really important to get a basic stub out with all the, as many objects as you think are going to be in there, so that once NPCs are placed, you can really check out the pathing and stuff and see if they're walking on top of things and colliding and stuff.
We have a question in chat. Are there any plans to have traps in dungeons?
Yes.
Yes. Yep. Absolutely. Would love to. Yeah.
And secret spots and stuff like that.
Yeah. Definitely want to bring that feel back. And once you kind of peeking around the corner and watching for pressure plates or things like that. Really want to implement that type of stuff.
Remembering back to different MMOs I've had the opportunity to play, Dungeons and Dragons Online actually did a really interesting, did a really good job of implementing traps. Do you guys have any concepts of how you'd like to scare or shock the players when they're trying to safely proceed through these dungeons?
Like I said, having a effectively, if there's a pressure plate or something on the ground that you can't see unless you can actually detect the trap, you could be rolling through and click it, and poison darts coming out, some cave-ins. I don't know if anyone got to play Wizardry Online, but they actually had a really cool way that they set up traps, which felt really very much like playing Wizardry. But yeah, you'd walk in somewhere, you trip a tripwire that you could see if you had the ability to trip a tripwire in this cave, and rocks would come down and you would die. And when it happened, you're like, oh God, like you're completely surprised by it. So I'd love to see stuff like that. Obviously, I don't want to just mass kill people, but running down a hallway, you trip something, and a wall opens up, and there's just this burst of flame going down the hallway. You got to turn around and run back around the corner to escape it. Those are types of things that I'd love to see implemented in the dungeons.
Moderator in our chat room, Sech Druskar, he's asking if you could give details on some of the races, factions, and perhaps mechanics that you hope to see put into the final product that may involve interactions between the races and the factions.
Details on races were releasing steadily throughout this week, so I don't want to really spoil anything.
So we can probably tell them. Today we had the ogre reveal, and tomorrow this will be an exclusive for all of you watching us live on Twitch. We're going to be revealing the Revenant tomorrow.
Ooh.
People have a good idea of what the ogre is, but Revenant sounds a little more exotic. What do you have to offer with the Revenant?
Man, Tony's the guy to speak to on this one. The Revenant is effectively I'm sorry, I am not the expert on.
It's kind of
to that point. But,
it's kind of a risen race. Like Revenant really does give you kind of a good idea as to what it is. I don't want to go into too much detail about it because then you won't check out the Kickstarter tomorrow.
Yeah, I think that's a good teaser. A good teaser for people to check out the Kickstarter tomorrow.
Looking back over to
sorry. The question didn't get fully answered though, right?
The interactions and factions.
Yes.
We definitely want factions to matter. We want racial offsets to and racial prejudice to exist. Not in the real world, obviously. In a way where, an ogre can't walk into a place where a bunch of elves are. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense unless he's proved himself. So So that type of stuff should exist. And obviously you're going to need to prove yourself, whether it be through, destroying the mighty dragon that's plaguing the elves, or, saving someone's daughter or whatever. So that type of stuff definitely exists. We're not going to stop people from grouping or anything like that. In case anyone's worried about that, someone who you might consider evil can still group with someone who comes off as good. But yeah, pretty standard stuff. I mean, some of that stuff's been lost in MMOs nowadays. Trying to bring it back, very EverQuesty when it comes to that type of stuff.
One thing that's pretty common in a lot of MMOs, you see actual class restrictions for each race. You guys put out the ogre already. People can see the details on that on your Kickstarter page. Are there going to be specific class restrictions for each race?
Yes, absolutely.
Is there anything you can tell us about that right now, or is that being kept pretty close under wraps for now?
We haven't worked out the nitty gritty, but you can expect the ogre to be able to be a Dark Knight. Sorry, I'm trying to remember all the classes. He won't be able to be a cleric or a crusader.
That was kind of funny today too. We had we revealed the ogre, and I was looking through the comment section, and one of our pledgers had made a concept art of the ogre, and it was a just a screenshot of the EverQuest ogre, like the old models, and then he just painted through the over the armor and just put a cross on it. He's like, yeah, ogre crusader.
Yeah, it was actually pretty epic. I mean, he'd be able to be a shaman, and he might actually be able to. I mean, we'd have to talk about the crusader, because there's a side to the crusader that actually works really well with the ogre, but it's not written in stone. Revenant would probably be able to be a rogue, Dark Knight, potentially, probably a wizard. Shaman doesn't really fit that type of race, but I mean, people should be able to kind of guesstimate as we release the races what they would be. As a matter of fact, we should probably add that to their descriptions, now that I think about it. So I'm glad that question was asked.
And I know there were some people that were wondering if like some of the larger races like ogres would be able to dual wield weapons that would normally be two-handers for other races, for the smaller races.
The notion of dual wielding two-handers is something that I totally dig. I love the idea of linking that to a specific race. Could be problematic just for balance reasons, but it's not something that I would throw out the window. I mean, I would love to see the ability to do that if we implement it that way, as long as we can do it without, saying, oh, well, if you're not an ogre, then you suck as this particular class because you can't dual wield two-handers. As long as we can do it without having that problem, then I'm all for it. Cool things that we can put in that make races unique, whether it be racial abilities or just kind of passive things like that, we're definitely going to do. It's just I want to avoid the situation where this race's abilities, thematically, they're just really powerful. I mean, that wasn't the intent. They just thematically work and they end up being really powerful mechanic wise. You have to nerf them later or something like that, or you have to make someone else powerful, or you get into this flavor of the month deal. I want to make sure that we're putting in quality stuff that's exciting gameplay wise, and just doesn't make one race just super badass when it comes to a particular class or anything like that. But
yeah, that was something that always got me in MMOs is you'd have a weapon and a human gets a hold of it and it's human size, and then like a larger race gets a hold of it and it's scaled up in size physically to match that class.
Yeah.
I know for myself, I was so disappointed when in World of Warcraft they originally had Tauren being able to dual wield two-handers, and then they took it out. I was so excited for that.
And then they added it back in with the talent specs, right?
Yeah, with Titan's grip. That was that was a big disappointment for me. And as great as it was they added back in, everyone could do it then.
Yeah. it's certainly a good point. If you're gonna take it out, maybe leave it out, or give Taurens some sort of advantage on top of Titan's grip, because they are Taurens. But yeah, I love that concept. I mean, we're putting in dual wielding shield, so you can imagine the craziness we could do with that.
Wait. Dual wielding shields?
Yeah. Yep. Yes.
I gotta ask, how's that gonna work?
Well, I mean, the concept of being able to hold two shields to kind of turtle up defensively and still attack with them, I mean, it's not overly far-fetched. And it's something that one of our other designers, Lenny and I, have talked about for a few years, being just kind of a cool concept. So we decided, hey, let's see if we can make it work here. And yeah, I think we can. I mean, it's really just kind of a really ultra defensive mode. I don't know if you ever played the game Patapon, but Patapon has one of the classes is basically an all shield guy, and all he does is hold up a shield and walk forward, to the beat of your drum. And just that concept is really cool. And it's not different to be different. It seems like a viable concept. So we'll have to see how that works out.
On the subject of different race and class combinations, we have a couple people asking about Dark Elves. If you can't say anything about that, of course, don't. But they are asking if Dark Elves will eventually be available.
Ben, do we want to?
Yeah, that's fine.
I'm not misspeaking here. Sorry.
Yeah, the thing is, we don't have Tony here with us, and he does a lot of the lore. And if we start saying what we have, we can confirm that there will be elves. That much I can tell you.
Yes.
But and I note that Tony has a very distinct plan for the elves. Will there be dark elves? That can be answered. There's a couple ways to answer that, and I wouldn't feel comfortable personally answering it without Tony here. I get really nervous when I start talking about lore if I screw something up, So
Yeah. People can be very specific about that kind of thing. I understand the mentality, and it sounds like the person asking this question specifically has a very specific idea in mind of what dark elves are. So being able to say that you have their concept that they have in their head of dark elves coming is almost impossible to answer, even if you guys do understand exactly what the lore guy has in mind.
Yeah.
Yep.
Going back to the chat room, there are a lot of great questions coming through. I'm trying to pick up as many as possible. Goodness, I know we missed some here.
Well, while you're looking through that, I do have a question about what type of crafting, in-game crafting, are you looking to put in? I've always been a big fan of crafting in MMOs and the ones that do it right. My favorite to this date was still Star Wars Galaxies, and how just dynamic the crafting system could be in that before they did their whole game-changing update.
Crafting right now is a stretch goal.
Okay.
And we really haven't discussed. We need to figure out how involved we really can make crafting and still be viable. I mean, the amount of products that you can make versus the amount of time spent. I mean, I did the crafting system in Vanguard. We made this, kind of extensive mini game with all this growth and the separate leveling and stuff like that. And it was received pretty well. And I enjoyed putting it in. But, even though we put in things to kind of avoid, item inflation and people just crafting a bunch of things just to get skill ups, it's still, you still just had people able to make a lot of things because it was really easy for our system to let you do that, but only a few things were really added. So I want to make sure that we get in a solid game, as far as the adventuring side of things, and have a good understanding of that, so that when we do incorporate crafting, that we're incorporating it from a standpoint of knowing what's already there and how it will work. Even if that involves putting in adventuring and kind of leaving hooks there, knowing that we'll have crafting later, as long as it doesn't screw with the core gameplay that we'd be putting out, we should be able to do that. But as far as like my vision for a crafting system, yeah, I love the notion of like experimentation or discovering really rare recipes, and only being able to produce one of a particular thing. I think that type of stuff is really cool. Unfortunately, in a game like this, you get a lot of people who are angry because they weren't there first or stuff like that. But I'd love to see something like that. You make this great epic sword, and that's it. There's one of those in this world. If you want to discover another one, maybe there's some long, extensive thing you got to do. Maybe it's a really rare drop. But I really like that. I like the crafter who can stand out because of this. Like, you became a great crafter because you crafted, this epic weapon. So I don't know, but it's all stuff that we obviously still have not worked out yet. And we need to see how it would fit in the grand scheme of things.
There are a lot of questions about different AI issues in chat right now. I'm going to try to bunch them up into a couple specific questions for you guys. The first one people were asking was, are mobs going to be attackable across the board? The example there a lot of people are using are AI merchants from the original EverQuest. Are those going to be all attackable, or is there going to be a certain limit to what you can and can't attack?
By default, I'd say that we'd let you attack anything. I mean, there's a consequence for doing that stuff. If you really want to do that, then okay, do it. As long as we avoid, some guy griefing people because this one merchant that sells this one thing, this guy is sitting there and killing. Of course, we could just make merchants, make it so that you couldn't kill them at any point. They can just kill you. And sure, if you want to attack them, fine, but it's effectively like you can't attack them because you'll never win. So yeah, by default, I'd say everything is attackable, much like games like Skyrim or original EQ or stuff like that.
The next AI question people had was, when it comes to things like rubber banding mobs, leashing mobs, AI in combat, how is it going to function? How far can you draw off a mob? How long is that aggro range going to be? What kind of aggro mechanics are you guys looking to put in place?
Well, I mean, one thing is we don't want to have leashing mobs. As far as like aggro mechanics for pulling, we want to bring back the notion of things like feign pulling, or monk goes out, he grabs 3 mobs, feigns down, warrior comes in, pops an arrow on one of the mobs as they walk back. I think that cool stuff like that has been certainly lost in today's MMOs. And back then it was fun. It was also a good way for someone to stand out skill wise and show that, hey, I play a class that is really good at pulling stuff. So once you get me in a group or whatever, let my expertise shine in that regard. But yeah, we don't want to have leashing if we can avoid it. I am not a huge fan of leashing, but obviously there has to be game systems in that support not leashing working. If we did put leashing in, it'd be a relatively long range. But if you piss off an orc, if you punch him in the face, you kill his family in front of him, and you run away, and he can chase you, I don't see why he would just all of a sudden forget and walk back. He should chase you until one of you are dead, or eventually you go hide somewhere, which, in EverQuest days, I was getting across the zone line.
Now, we just saw the screen change here. Looked like things might have crashed. What happened there?
Nothing. It's just Maya.
You switched over to Maya? Oh yeah, he switched. Okay, gotcha.
Now, what exactly is going on here in Maya now? We see a lot more intricacies when it comes to the model placement. A lot of more base objects. What are you making here?
I'm just trying to get some steps in there. We don't have some steps yet, so just some basic modular construction of zone stuff.
Moving back to the chat here, there are a lot of people asking questions. Apologies, folks, if we miss one of your questions. We are doing our best to try and keep up with you folks. There's a lot of you guys here tonight. We're glad to have you all here. All are there any plans for the game managers or the GMs to run in-game events?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of that. Not running them running them doesn't really hurt us. I mean, if it's just if someone wants to pop on and become an NPC or change the way they look and interact with players, it just adds to the game. It certainly adds to immersion. So yeah, I'd love it. I mean, especially when you're talking about like famous heroes that we may introduce over time, popping into the game world and giving people tasks or something like that. Even a GM becoming like a big dragon and taking on people and rewarding them. That's fun. It certainly can break up any monotony or anything like that. If you're just kind of in a rigmarole or something from playing after a while, it's a cool way to kind of mix things up and get people smiling and get them together and talking to each other.
That's one of the cool things about working on an arguably smaller audience, really. Because in theory, if our audience is smaller than what you see in a lot of the big names, then we get more of a chance to interact with them more. Like if you were to do something in a game that had, like 80 different servers, you would need 80 different people hosting events. That's a lot of staff. Whereas if we have, a few servers and a few staff members, I think Brad put it in a way that the ratio is a lot better. Like we've got one dev per fewer people. So I think the possibilities are a lot greater for us to be able to pull it with to do stuff like that with this project than a massive project.
A quick reminder, folks, we did talk about combat and AI mechanics just a little bit there a few minutes ago. Eldarin Earthenhand just mentioned that there is actually a great update on combat on your guys' Kickstarter page. And if people are interested more in the specifics of what you guys have outlined so far, they should actually head over that direction.
Yep. Indeed. Please.
Yeah, that combat update that Salim had written is great. It answers pretty much everything. I mean, there's still some details that need to be worked out. As it has ever been, the challenge of this Kickstarter is that because we've gone to Kickstarter so early in development, it's a lot earlier than a lot of people are used to being introduced to a game. Like we don't have several years of development already into this game. We're starting this game. So.
Speaking on that,
yes, Actoran actually asked a question in chat. It was a pretty long one, so Nightbot actually timed him out. But where the higher level you are, the spells look more powerful and cooler. That was in EverQuest. Will we see this type of spells in Pantheon, where low level characters are casting the low level spells, the higher level ones? It'll be obvious that they're casting higher level spells.
I'm a huge fan of that type of visual progression. It's not just the armor that you're wearing that can note whether you're higher level, but it can be the spells you're casting, how they look, even the animations. One thing I'd love to see is if you're kind of low level, if you're low level and you're this guy out in the world and you're not really sure how to use a sword or whatever, the animations of your swings are not as confident as a high level guy swinging the same sword. So I dig visual progression like that. It just adds to the whole thing, feeling of accomplishment and immersion.
I just want to draw our attention back again here to the screen. So as you've been watching, what's happened here, and correct me if I'm wrong, Vu. So we have this pit in the middle of the room, and we needed a way to get out of it, obviously. So you just designed the stairs in Maya and then just imported it over into Unity.
Yeah, they're kind of just placeholder for now. And as I say, as we work on, they'll just get detailed up and then eventually just get replaced with a final model.
One of the earlier questions on that, are you using a Mac for that or a PC?
A PC.
Now,
One thing.
what type of plans do you have, or even does Unity support like level of detail queuing for increasing or decreasing 3D model complexity the further off you go into the distance or the closer you get?
It's
Yeah,
got
Unity
some
supports all
good
that
LOD
stuff.
stuff, but I haven't really had a chance to get my total grips on it. But it has total control of that.
Okay.
It's built for MMOs. I'm pretty sure it is.
One thing I'm also really curious about with using the Unity engine, how flexible are you guys planning to be with Linux releases, with possible Steam OS releases? Are you guys able to do that, or is that another challenge that you guys haven't figured out how to overcome yet?
One of the other awesome things about Unity is that it's an engine made for multiple platforms. So building to Mac, building to Linux, things like that, it already gets us there. Um, so yeah, I mean, right now we're going to launch Mac and PC first. You know, but the possibility of getting a Linux, heck, if the game could run on a tablet, um, well, because of Unity, we're already, you know, kind of ahead of the game in that regard. Um, so Unity gives us a lot of options. I mean, it gives us a whole lot of options, and kind of helps put us ahead of the game.
Speaking of Unity engine, why Unity engine?
Because of what I just said. I mean, it's a fantastic engine. It has a lot of great features. You know, visually, it can look super awesome, but it also gives us the benefit of, with a smaller team, trying to build a large game. We needed something that doesn't have a huge learning curve. That B is effectively free, and C, it has a gigantic community of people who are just creating things for the game and either giving them away for free or really cheap on the Unity store. So, you know, if we need a bunch of just kind of background assets, instead of having to build them from scratch, we can purchase them, and then, you know, we can modify them to fit our game a little bit better. You know, anything from, you know, random background barrels to, you know, full on models with full animation suites and things like that. We can do those things and then modify them to fit our game. It's just great, and having that type of community and that type of support is awesome. The engine is constantly being updated. If anyone has seen the dynamic weather demo, it shows off what is possible. And because we're using Unity, as soon as I saw that, you know, I talked to our lead programmer, Jason. I'm like, can we use that? He's like, yes, absolutely, we can use that because we're using Unity. And the amount of time, you know, involved in making a weather system is nil, because someone's already done it, and we can just plug it into our game essentially.
Now, one last development question on this, on the specific scale of the project. You're making an entire MMO. It's a big project. On this scale, what are the difficulties and advantages of going from Maya to Unity?
None really. They're integrated pretty well. You could actually save Maya files and then just work on the Maya files, and they'll pretty much update in Unity.
Wow.
We also have a question about in chat about how safe zones in dungeons will work.
I can't really speak that we'll have something specifically called safe zones, but, you know, as a part of just dungeon design and implementation, when you're populating, especially if you want people to be able to stop and kind of pull and camp and you know, generate some sort of pull strategy, you're going to have areas where mobs don't exist, like they're just not there, or there's a pathway that comes by every, you know, 20 minutes or so. So effectively, you know, like games like EverQuest, Final Fantasy 11, you know, with many other games, DAOC, there are going to be spots where, yeah, you could stop, camp, talk, have a coffee, whatever, walk away and you know, greet your wife at the door or whatever. So you know, if you want to camp out there, you can camp out there. So yeah, it's not that we're going to have some safe zone system in. It's kind of a part of dungeon development. in population. So yeah, that's how they would work. There's just lulls in the population that for all intents and purposes are intentional.
We're also having some questions and comments about if you have the server architecture and database structure for the back end in the works or in brainstorming it, and possible technical issues and hurdles that might be involved with.
Our lead programmer could speak to that a lot better. He's been working on the server and network code for the past 3 months while we were building a prototype of Combat. He used that time building the prototype to also kind of prototype out our network code. So he's been experimenting and talking to me about, trying to use some kind of go about it different ways, cloud-based stuff to make it easier to manage. But yeah, he would be able to speak to that a lot better than me. And he definitely knows what he's doing in that regard.
Righty, folks. It is getting on just about 8 p.m. EST, I believe. Yep, just slightly past it. Thank you so much for joining us so far tonight, guys. We do appreciate it. Make sure you give us a follow here at twitch.tv/The Rob and Dan Show. This isn't the last of these, I certainly hope, which means you're going to need to stay up to date with whenever we're going live. We're going to do this more often, I certainly hope. So, with that being said, Ben, Salim, Vu, thank you so much for joining us tonight, guys. Any last thoughts you'd have?
Nope. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, mine is simply come over to Kickstarter, check us out. We got something great that we're building here, and we'd love for you guys to be a part of it. It's a very community-oriented project. We want to hear everyone's voice. So come by, check it out, and if you like what you see, pledge.
The Kickstarter link is right below the video, guys. Click on it. Check this game out.
And here's a picture of the window, and you can see the Kickstarter link right underneath if the video doesn't keep popping up to the top. Pantheon Rise of the Fallen, and just click on this banner and it'll take you right to the Kickstarter page to where you can back the project. You can get in on the beta or I believe the alpha ones are already taken.
Not all of them, because they're included in some of the higher tiers. But there's also a pre-alpha one where you can help test the game really early on. That's another option.
Okay, and we do continue to plan to continue these broadcasts going into the future as you guys have time to do it.
Yeah, I don't see why we wouldn't. I mean, it's great to be on the show, and it's great to be able to show what we're doing. That as mentioned, I mean, one of the big things here is we want people to know what we're doing. Like there's we're not holding anything back. We want you guys to be a part of it as much as we are. Through the Kickstarter and beyond. So this opportunity with the Rob and Dan Show has been great for us. And I really appreciate the opportunity. So I'd love to be back. We can certainly set something up.
And as Dan and I were talking about earlier, we got a feeling that we were going to want to do a 24/7 or a 24-hour on the final day of the Kickstarter campaign to help final promotion, final getting the word out here on Twitch, all across the interwebs.
Great.
Yeah,
this will be available, guys, on the YouTube page or on the Twitch page, rather, after we are done. Rob, are we able to upload this to the YouTube page, or is it going to be too long?
It should upload to YouTube fine. There's plenty of stuff that's got like hour-long stuff and such on there. But it will be available immediately once we stop streaming, and I will post the link in chat here momentarily. But it will be available on Twitch to watch again. You're just going to need to advance about 10-15 minutes in to get past the intro music.
Mm-hmm. Remember, guys, please consider contributing to the Pantheon Rise of the Fallen project. There are tons of different contributor levels. There's a huge chart on the Kickstarter page itself. Look it over, decide what level is best for you. There are tons of options. They have come up with so many different things that you can get just by being a contributor to the Pantheon Rise of the Fallen project. With that being said, for Vu, Ben, and Salim, and for Rob, I have been Dan.
And for everyone, I have been Rob.
Again, guys, thank you so much for joining us. Everyone, stay tuned to the channel. We will be doing this again. I certainly hope I can promise you that. That's the show. Good night now.